Jellyfish, it's Tracy, and let me adjust you guys a little bit. Today I'm going to be doing a very different video. I'm going to be doing, I normally post only Magic the Gathering videos, but today I'm posting a Harley Quinn, like how to get into like Harley Quinn comics, because I've been doing this for a pretty damn long time. I think I started in like 2014 or 2013, I don't know, and I've definitely learned a lot in this process. I've been going to Comic-Con for the past 5 years, and I've been collecting Harley Quinn comics for a long time, and if you do want to see my comic book collection, I will list it in the down bar below. That has all of my Harleys. I have like separate ones for like all of my other comics and then all of my Harleys because I have too many, and I just really like to talk about Harley Quinn, as you're gonna notice from this video. So I kind of wanted to do a video talking about it because getting into comics in general is really overwhelming and can be very confusing. That's actually something that I've found is it's really hard to get into, especially if you're someone who you're getting into comics and you're trying to read a series that was written like 13 years ago, and you're like trying to find like where you can get those comics, and it's just really confusing. And when I got into comics, I was like, I don't understand anything, none of this makes sense. One thing I had issues with, not with Harley in particular, I can see having an issue with Harley in particular, is like there were so many writers to other comic books that I didn't understand, like how one series didn't match up with another series, and how they're like mini series within the main series, and it's just really can be very confusing. Hopefully this video is helpful if you're trying to get into Harley Quinn comics, or you just like Harley Quinn, or you're just kind of curious about her comics. Thanks for playing, thanks for coming, taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. So I want to get started, and I want to get started talking about volumes, and basically like what those are is like this like group of comics that can be, you know, as many comics as the writer wants. You know, issues starting at issue 1, some go to issue 0, which we will talk about, to issue 30, you know, some series do 100, it just totally depends. And Harley has very, you know, set numbers for these, and I'm gonna list this really helpful website in the down bar, which is called Comic Vine. It's a great website. I'm gonna list the general Harley Quinn appearances, which we'll talk about in a bit, but I'm also gonna list the 3 volumes, the main volumes, which I'm gonna be talking about, which are Harley's own series. She has many appearances in like a lot of things in the DC universe, which is awesome, but that's not what we're gonna really talk about. We're gonna really talk about her volumes. At this moment that I'm filming this video, she has 3 volumes. Briefly, the third volume, volume number 3, is out currently. If you were to walk into a comic book store and pick up an issue of Harley Quinn, that's what you're gonna see. It has this word DC Rebirth on it, which again we'll talk about in a hot second. This started in 2016 and is going through to now. The comics are actually still being put out. Issue 29? I think issue 30 actually is in the process of being put out. It's either that or 29. But that is out currently. The second volume started in, I believe, 2013 or 2014, which looks like this. This is the new 52, which again, we're going to go back to talking about this. Like I said, volume 3, which is being still out right now, which is this series, this has about like 29 or 30 issues already out. Volume 2, which is already completed, all of the comics are out for Volume 2. There is a total of 31 issues, including issue 0, which we will talk about in a second. And then we have the beloved Volume 1, which started in 2000 and went to 2004, and there are a total of 38 books in that series. So yes. So I'm going to actually go in backwards order. I'm going to start talking about volume 3 now, because that stuff you can actually go to a comic book store and buy, which is super cool. So, like I said, this is called DC Universe Rebirth. That is kind of like the whole, if you can see like there's like a Batman Rebirth, there's like all the other DC comic book heroes, they get their Rebirth series. It's just what it's called as a general, but the whole series is just called Harley Quinn Rebirth. This is the first issue, and this stuff is out right now. pretty easy to get your hands on. Again, my comic book store, and I don't know about other comic book stores, how they're doing it. My comic book store, the way that it does is, as long as the series is out right now and it's still being produced, you can still acquire the rest of the comic books. So definitely, if you know, go into your local comic book store or check out a couple different comic books, you know, make some phone calls and say, hey, like, is it possible that I know Volume 1 came out, you know, a couple months ago, but is it possible that you could order me, you know, issues 1 through 14 or something like that? What I actually did for Volume 2 is I had started collecting comic books around Volume 2. I started kind of, not in the middle, but kind of in the middle. I'm at issue 11. What I ended up doing is I talked to my comic book store, and they were able to get me issues 1 through 10. They were able to order them for me, which was awesome. And so I ended up getting all of those issues, which was super cool because they were already produced. So ask around. If your comic book store won't do it, you know, maybe go to a couple of different comic book stores and see if they can do, that's something that they can do. Most places I assume wouldn't give you a hard time as long as it's something that's still out there. Now, if you were to walk in and say, hey, I'm looking for Harley Quinns from 2004, 2004, they're going to look at you and be like, no, we cannot order those. That's probably not something in their position of power, again, from my understanding of it. But we'll talk about how to acquire those when we get to Volume 1. So anyways, Volume 3, you can get this pretty easily accessible. One website that I like to use, which I've never actually ordered from, but I have a friend who funny works there, is Midtown Comics. They're very widespread. They're like a huge company, so they have like a lot of, you know, a lot of stuff. So if you're looking to get like some earlier issues of Volume 3, you can check that out. But yeah, that's pretty much, I'm actually on like the wrong thing when I'm talking about this. But yeah, like I said, there's about like 29 issues or so of this right now. And yeah, so that is Volume 3, which is out right now. Now I want to move into talking about Volume 2. I just have like I have some tabs up over here for reference. So there are 31 issues in this. You have issue 0, which starts out the series. This is the director's cut, which was really awesome, by the way. Really cool. I actually have the, show you guys. This is like a super cool issue. It's actually very thick because it's the director's cut, but it's really cool. So basically it has all of the different writers and whatnot, and they do like a little blurb, and then they have like their art, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm remembering this issue correctly, it's all done, all the art is done by like someone different, and the writing, you know, is done by, you know, whoever the artist is. Yeah, that's how it's done. So really cool. There's a bunch of really cool art styles. There are definitely various art styles, as you can see in this issue. This was a super cool issue. I will say, after going to Comic-Con, you can still find this issue, issue 0 from Volume 2, which was out from 2013 to 2016. You can definitely still find this issue. I have seen this at Comic-Con this year, so even though this is a little bit of an older issue, you can definitely still find it. This one is going to be a little bit more expensive, I would say. Oh, I should have mentioned that. Backtracking a little bit. Volume 3, these are going to run you $3. I don't think the price has gone on these. Hold up, I have a recent issue over here. Yeah, this is issue 19. These are all $3, so they're very easily affordable. These, I've seen Volume 2 at Comic-Con, some of these issues for like $4 or $5, which isn't bad, I don't think. This one, because it is issue 0, this one's a little bit more expensive. It's also a little bit thicker. It's not your typical average size of something like this. I got this for, I may have gotten this for $6. I know it says $4.99 in here, but I think I got this for like around $6 at Comic-Con one year. One of the first Harley Quinns I think I ever bought, actually. But if you're gonna get this, totally get the director's cut. A lot of the issues and variants, you know, different different art and stuff on them doesn't really matter to me a lot of the time. Sometimes it does. Sometimes I'm pretty firm on what art I like. But Harley's usually, you know, I'm pretty much go with the full, but I'd really recommend the director's cut for this one because it was just really, really fun to see that. And the name of this issue is called Sticky Picky, which I just think is like the greatest title ever. But anyways, so this you can definitely still find at Comic-Con. I've seen this this year at Comic-Con when I went in 2017, so you can definitely still get your hands on it. In terms of the issues itself. I've seen a couple of these on Midtown Comics. Like I said, it will be listed in the down bar below. I've seen a couple of these issues, not so much the earlier issues. Some of these you may have a hard time finding some of these issues, especially in issue like 1 or something like that. Issue 1's a really hard thing you'll find in a lot of comic books, is some of those earlier issues are really difficult to come across. But like I said, I've seen a lot of typical issues like this running for like $4 or $5 a piece. Something like issue 1 of this right now may be a little bit more expensive, maybe just a couple dollars more expensive for this, but this is still, you know, you'll still find copies of this, I would say decently easily, at least I have in Comic-Con. In terms of other places online, I'm not too sure, like I said, but I have seen a couple of issues of these floating around in Midtown Comics. So that's pretty much it for volume 2, and then we hop into, I grabbed out all of my issues of volume 1. I have quite a bit. Oh boy. Oh no. So I have a ton of issues of this. But basically I wanted to pull these out and really talk about them, because this is kind of where it's older stuff, so a lot of times it's harder to obtain and whatnot. But basically this went from 2000 to 2004. So this stuff is going to be a little bit harder to obtain. This is the coveted, like, I feel like series, because again, those others you can find pretty easily accessible. Stuff like this is definitely going to be harder to find. Because again, a lot of it's older. I mean, 2000 when this one first launched in December. You know, that's 17 years ago. It's a really long time ago. So you're not really going to find these as much. But however, I did want to say that when I went to Comic-Con this year, I noticed a couple of things. I want to talk about price range with these, because it can definitely vary. And this is just my personal experience with price. You may have gone somewhere different and seen a different price points, but this was the price point that I had seen. For issue 1, I got this for $40, last year's Comic-Con 2016, I believe. This is going to be more expensive. Like I said, you're going to have a harder time finding those earlier volumes versus those later volumes. So it's going to be, you know, definitely a heftier price tag. So I got this for $40, which honestly I didn't really think was too bad. Then I have issues 2, 3, so I got these issues 2 and 3 for $15, and again, these prices, you know, are just totally going to depend on your area. I got issues 4 and 5 for $16 a piece. Issue 6 I got for $15. Issues 7 I got for $10. Issue 8 I got for $8. Issue 9 I got for $10. I'm sorry, issue 9, yeah, for $10. I'm missing issue 10 currently. Issue 11 I got for $5, and issue 20, I randomly have 20, I got this for $5. So basically, as you can see, the prices vary, but they're kind of in the same general family. I mean, like I said, you can find some of these, you know, like some of these older issues that are going to be a little bit cheaper. This was actually one of the first Harley Quinn comics that I ever bought, which was super cool, for $5. But then again, you know, your number one is going to be $40. So when I was peeling through the comic book bins this year, a lot of these later issues were roughly around $10, which I realistically don't think is that bad. You can find bulks of this series, this entire volume 1. You can find that on eBay. I've seen them for about like $400 for the entire series, which can sound like a lot of money, but that's roughly around $10 an issue because there are 38 issues. Some people, what they like to do is I don't have one on hand, but some people have those paperback like books. There are these paper bound, this is obviously not Harley Quinn, this is a Princess, which is another one of my favorite series, but they have these paper bound books which you can buy in these volumes if the physical individual copies are just way too much, which I totally understand. So like I said, I'm gonna list Comic Vine down below, which goes over each of these 3 volumes that I talked about. So you have volume 1, you have volume 2, and you have volume 3. And it goes over each individual issue. It has the covers on them. Now here's the deal. There are variants. It's a huge thing. I feel like Harley Quinn too. Sometimes she's got like 5 different variants, which means that the cover art basically just looks different. With variants, what I'm talking about is I got this free issue which has a different variant than this one. So they're the same exact issue, they just have different cover art, which that's a variant, that's what that means. And then you have this one, which this is actually one of the most common issues, covers of this that I've seen, which is funny, which is issue 1, Hot in the City. But this art, this is the one that I got. I got this one again, like I said, for free on Comic Fest. But yeah, so they're, again, same issue, they just have different cover art. And this can get to be pretty confusing. Like, you know, you could see this and be like, wait, is it the same? It's the same issue, you know, it can be kind of a challenging thing to see. Because again, some Harley issues have like 5 different variants, you know? But, and that's why, like I said, I'll list all the volumes in the description bar below so you can check those out. Again, you know, you can see that they'll have like one issue. But another thing too that I feel like with the volumes is volume 1 especially, I feel like is very like distinct. Like I feel like this art, you know, you see Harley, she's in this different type of costume. So she looks very distinct versus, you know, Harley from volume 2 looks different than Harley from volume 3, you know, they just like look different. So I think that's like another major thing is like identifying, you know, which series is which. I feel like is pretty easy, especially because volume 1 was, you know, written like 2000, 2004. It's a long time ago. So that is kind of what I wanted to say about the volumes itself. Like I said, you know, volume 1, you know, price range, I would say anywhere from like $5 to like 15, 16, 20, you know, I've seen them in like that range, but definitely well worth it. I love my Harleys, I'm like obsessed. I love them. So that is pretty much that. Then I wanted to talk about some other series that Harley is in. So those are her main volumes, but if you're someone who's collecting Harley Quinns, you know, you have the main volumes, but you may want to get like things like one-shots or things like miniseries. And I wanted to talk about that. I have a couple of one-shots here, which a lot of these are most recent one-shots that she was in. So stuff like one-shots, it's not that they have nothing to do with the volumes, it's just that they're a one-shot. Like you could pick this up and not know anything about what happened in issue 16. You could just read these as they are. So I have a couple of them here that have happened. There's a Valentine's Day, the holiday special, which was really funny, the annual issue, Harley Quinn Future Ends, road trip special. This is one of my favorites. You can find this if this one interests you, which is one of my favorites. It's Harley Quinn Invades San Diego Comic-Con. Great issue. You can find this for like $5. It's a one-shot and it's great. April Fools. So these are a couple of different one-shots, which like I said, don't have really anything to do with those volumes, you know. If you want to read them in conjunction with them, you can, but like it's meant to be, you know, a one-shot where you can read it without seeing, you know, anything else. By the way, I'm obsessed with this April Fool's art. I think this is one of my favorite versions of Harley. I just love her. Pretty much just always like anything that she's wearing, to be completely honest, but yeah, that's that. So there are a ton of different one-shots, and then we have some mini-series, which I didn't grab all of the issues of these, but you have like 2 mini-series that came out pretty recently. You have Harley Quinn and her Gang of Harleys and Harley Quinn and Power Girl. These each are mini-series. They have 6 issues a piece. Did they say on here? Yeah, sometimes you'll see this one says issue 1 of 6. These each had 6 a piece. You'll see here, this says like one shot. So yeah, these are like little mini series that they'll do. Another major, I would say, series that she did when this was a while back. This is Gotham City Sirens. This is, I randomly have like issue 19 because I bought this when I, again, didn't really understand all these different versions and whatnot. So I kind of just bought this because I was like, oh, Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy and Catwoman's on it. I'm pretty sure I got this 50% off, so I think this was about like $5. Maybe it was like $8 or something. So I got a little bit less, so it's definitely not the $10 because I remember I didn't pay that. But yeah, this is another series that she was in. DC Bombshells, I don't actually have any of those. That's like one on my list of items to collect and read at some point. I haven't gotten the chance. Suicide Squad's another really major thing. Again, I don't have any Suicide Squad issues. It's a lot, you know, there's a lot. Like when you put it all like this way, you're in like, wow, she's in like so many different things. For myself as a collector and as a reader, I have every single issue of volume 2, which is this series right here. I have every single issue in this series, which is awesome. I have the majority, and I will be getting at some point the rest of the issues in Rebirth, which is volume 3, which is currently out right now. I'm going to be keeping up with that. I'm going to eventually get all of the issues to that. I showed you my entire volume. I showed you my entire volume 1 collection. I have issues 1 through 9, issue 11, and then issue 20. So I have, you know, I have a couple of those, which I love. I'm in the process of collecting the remaining of this. Once I collect this, I'm not too sure where I'm going to jump. I may continue with collecting Gotham City Sirens. I do want to do Bombshells at some point, which is pretty recent, so hopefully I won't have that hard of a time of collecting it. But I wanted to go back to talking about Comic Vine, and I think this is going to be kind of where I leave this video off. What I really love about this website is what it does is it breaks it down, so it shows every single Harley Quinn appearance ever. Currently she has over like 1,000 appearances, so if you're someone who's like, I want to collect every single Harley Quinn ever, I'm just letting you know there's like 1,000+ appearances. Like I said, these volumes that I've been talking about, these are her main, these are hers. Sometimes you'll find it like things like I have what kind of comics? I have like Poison Ivy. There was like a mini Poison Ivy series, which was great. Harley Quinn was in like one random issue. You know, so you look at that and say, okay, cool, well she made like an appearance in this. Like she makes appearances like freaking everywhere. Like Green Lantern, there's a million Batman, you know, times where she makes appearances, you know, with the Joker. Like she's everywhere. She's in Suicide Squad. Like she's one of the main characters of Suicide Squad. Gotham City Sirens, like, you know, there's also, look at Suicide Squad. So I've explained now that there's 3 volumes to Harley Quinn, plus all of these, you know, one-shots, plus all of these mini-series, and you're like, okay, so then look at that. Now Suicide Squad has how many writers and how many volumes, and it's just a lot to keep up with. So if you're overwhelmed, which totally makes sense, and Comic Vine is definitely an overwhelming website, but I like it because it keeps everything kind of organized in these little categories where you can see the cover art. You know, again, you're not going to see 5 variations of the same cover art. They don't do that, but they show you the different, you know, covers and the numbers and like what the titles are called or whatever, so it makes it kind of easy, definitely easier. So, you know, again, if you're someone who's like, I'm trying to collect everything, it's 1,000+ appearances. I don't even think I'll realistically get to that. I don't think I'm out here to try to collect every Harley Quinn ever. I'm just a reader and a collector, and I just love her, and I do it because I really enjoy her as a character, and she's definitely a lot of fun. So no, I cannot say that I'm out there to collect every Harley Quinn appearance ever, because that's just ridiculous, and I just don't think I could physically do something like that. But yeah, this shows a lot of, you know, this shows everything that she's been in. There's a couple of repetitive things I will say. So like, sometimes she has like the same, you'll see like the same cover art for like issue 1 like 3 times. Like, so they kind of do repeat a couple of things, which kind of is annoying. So it's like, okay, does she really have 1,000 appearances, or is it like less than that because people added their own things? But yeah, I think that was everything I wanted to say about Harley Quinn comics. I feel like I've been talking for like 3 years, so I'm gonna go though. This was really fun to film. I definitely really enjoy this, and yeah, I think that was all I wanted to say, but I will talk to you guys in my next video.